What is up, everybody? I'm super excited here to be joined by my guest today, Zach Oehlman, who is an absolute, stud in the real estate world, in the business world, and also in the lifestyle world as well. So Zach here, our guest, is probably living the lifestyle that everybody who is out there watching this or listening to this that wants to live right now. He's currently in Colombia and enjoying life. They've been to over 24 countries. And Zach really is able to do this because he is a master at starting and scaling and selling businesses and then reinvesting your wealth back into real estate so that you can have a lifestyle of real, true freedom that we can all see Zach is currently living today. So we're super excited to have him on the show today. He'll be sharing a lot of his experience as far as how he's able to build these businesses that can actually afford him the lifestyle that he currently lives today. So we're going to be really focusing in on that, right? Because everybody wants a great business, but why do we want a great business? It's because we want to live the lifestyle that we always dreamed of living. But Zach, man, welcome to the show. I am super excited to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Kobe. I'm excited to be on.
Yeah, well, let's stick right down in, right? So, for our listeners out there who may not know who you are, who may not have heard of, your story before, what are, would you mind sharing a little bit about your story, your background? How did you get to this point you are today? What prompted you to start in business, and some of the, I guess, trials and tribulations, if you will, that you went through in your business journey to get to where you are here today?
Yeah, so I'll give you a quick overview. I'm a self-proclaimed farm kid from Northwest Indiana, and so grew up on a farm, very small little community, 3,500 people. My dad died when I was 12, so I took over the farm. Hated school, absolutely hated it. I was gonna be a farm kid the rest of my life because I just love creating. And then I graduated high school and I had a reality check. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to help people. I wanted to make a lot of money. And I saw being, having a farm wasn't going to fulfill on that. And so I picked up a book by Peter Lynch. If you guys know anything about him, he was a world renowned stock investor, mutual funds, things like that. And I started learning that, well, you could buy businesses, you could grow businesses, you could become this thing called investor. And I had no idea what it meant, but I knew it sounded really fun because one of the things we always struggled with was money. Being, growing up on the farm it's not a high income paying thing. And so I went to Indiana University, studied finance, studied economics and business at Indiana University. And then I graduated in 2008. And if anybody remembers 2008, it was horrific. I spent 3 years and sent out over 3,500 resumes before I actually landed a bona fide job. I spent my first year working for free for a real estate investor, second year working down at the Chicago Board of Trade for free because I didn't sell anything because I was a socially awkward young man. And then I got a job working for a valuation consultant, and I had no idea what it meant other than it paid me like $32,000 a year, and I was super excited because I actually was making some money. And I started learning about valuations, buying and selling businesses, what creates value. And over the years, I've valued almost anything you can think of, from people to software to hybrid debt. But we really specialize in illiquid, non-marketable private assets. Got a job working for one of the best companies in the world now, making the six figures and the salary and the bonuses and everything that I thought I wanted, and became a published author in that arena, and I hated it. I was driving through Chicago traffic every day, and I had 2 weeks of vacation. It was like, there's more to life than this. And I started hearing about real estate investing because I didn't have a whole lot of money. And I heard you could do it with none of your own money, none of your own credit. And that's sort of what was the appeal. I wanted to start businesses, but I didn't know how yet. And I became very successful at the real estate side of it. We started our own community, of which we still have today, a nationwide community. And I just started growing one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other. And then I started learning more about businesses and taking that to a whole different level. And that's what we do today is we focus on all of it. We use businesses to create income, and then we reinvest that income back into real estate for building the balance sheet and tax advantages. And so that's how we spend our day, and I love it.
That is awesome, man. So you guys are, really living the dream, right? For most people who are out there who are in real estate, in business, entrepreneurs, right? That's all I think, not necessarily all of it, but most people, right? They have the same dreams, right? That you had when you first came out, when you started in business, right? Which is you want to travel the world, you want to make a lot of money, you want to have that freedom. So let's talk a little bit more now about, the process that you went through building your real estate business in the beginning, right? So you were able to essentially find something that you could kind of hitch your wagon to, right? You were looking at different businesses, different things you could look at, but you ended up going with real estate. What did that process look like for you as you were building your real estate business, right? Was it kind of what you expected it to be? Was there any lessons that you would kind of go back and redo it or a different way if you were
So
to
if
start over again?
if I was to redo it, and I say this, and I train on this every time because I do training 6 days a week with my team and in my community. If I had to do it over again, I would not have quit my job as early. I was making six figures plus, single guy, and I could have bought so much more real estate so much quicker. But I had this idea I wanted to get out of that so bad, and I don't know why, right? It's because I wanted freedom, and I didn't even know what it was. But if I would have had like a mentor who said, Zach, stay in your job, you're going to be making 150, $200,000 in the next 2 to 3 years. Um, you know, you could use all of that money to buy rental real estate, keep your expenses low, use it for tax, understand the tax component of real estate. I would have been so much further ahead. But what happened was I jumped, I bought 8 rental properties and I was making, $5,000 a month cash flow, which was great for a young man that was single. But I was on like this perpetual wheel now. It's like, okay, now I have to go make active income and either fix and flipping or wholesaling or doing something. And I didn't, the vision of real estate investor was never sold to me like that. It was, and that's what I really teach people today. Is I said there, and I heard you say it, the business of real estate, right? And I think so many people get misunderstand there's a difference between investor and business owner, and most people are a business owner in the industry of real estate. And that was a hard lesson for me to learn. I had to learn I am the sales and marketing department. And I was so socially awkward. I was afraid of people. I I so I had to take a lot of personal development. I'm still in it today. I spend money on coaches. I went through the landmark forum. I just stuff like that. And it allowed me to come out of my shell to actually talk to people so that I could drive the business of my business. And that was one of the biggest lessons. And so if you have this idea that you're in a job and you hate it, it's not easy on the other side. Right? It's not easy on it. You are everything. And I mentor a lot of people that come into our community and I tell them that I say, man, if you're making great money, your quickest way to freedom is to be responsible around your finances, create a budget, create a plan, and in 5 years you can have whatever you want. But most people, what I see is most people want that quick, easy, what they think is quick, easy money, and it's not. And they spend the rest of their life trying to make quick, easy money, as opposed to just sit down, like get a pen and paper out. What do you want? What's the finances to get there, and then go do the actions and understand what you need to get trained and developed in order to do that. And the life I live today, anybody could live the life I have today on $5,000 a month, $3,000 a month. Because as we travel, it doesn't take a whole lot of money to live a great life here in Colombia. The challenge is no one will do the thinking. I don't want to say no one. Very few people do the thinking and the planning and actually put a number to their vision. And that's all I do is how much is it going to cost? What do I need to get there? What are the actions? Okay, let's go implement. Boom. Next.
That is something that is so important in our opinion, as far as people who want to achieve, anything
Right.
worth achieving in life, right? You have to start from the end in mind. You have to know what
Right.
you want, how much it costs, what do you have to do to get there. Doesn't matter what
Right.
business you're in, if you have that vision, if that reverse engineering that, then you can get to it because now you have a actual little legit plan to follow.
It's in life in general. It's like even if you want to go on vacation, where do you want to go on vacation? Like for me, when I met my wife, I started doing a vision board. I was like, okay, this is what my dream relationship looks like. Now I'm gonna go find it. This is what my dream lifestyle looks like. This is the motorcycle I want. Everything is it's reverse engineered because it takes intention to create. And the challenge is most people don't do that work because it's a very intellectual, challenging. I remember I paid this coach like $8,500 for a year. Every Monday we met and she asked me this question for 30 minutes. What do you want? What do you want, Zach? I'm like, oh my gosh. And I start off with I want $10,000. That's sort of everyone's number, right? I want 10,000. She's like, okay, what does that mean? Right. And then after like 2 months of just trying to understand what do I want, it finally started like, I finally started getting some substance, right? Because traveling the world, helping people and making money, I've wanted that since I was 16, but that was sort of the extent of it. No one ever challenged me until I started hanging around the right people and hiring the right coaches and reading the right books, which was about 10 to 12 years later. What does that mean? What does travel the world mean? Where do you want to go? How much does it cost? What does helping people mean? Who are you going to help? How are you going to help them? And like putting the intellectual horsepower to it. And then that's when things started really arising in my life to uh to actually go down those paths.
What people need to understand, I think, is what you were saying there. Everything needs to happen in the mind first before it can
Mhm.
happen in real life. You have to be
Right.
able to have that vision in your mind of what it looks like, be as specific as possible. And then as you're going through those exercises, what you're doing is you don't realize it, but you're actually solving problems, right? You're actually
Right.
solving problems that will arise when you go after these things in real life in your mind first. You're envisioning what can happen, you're envisioning the process, what is next, right? What does it look like? How much does it cost? How do I get there? And in that process, you're basically putting together a plan for you to just follow and take action on.
Yeah, because if you know where you're going, you'll be awake to the opportunity when it comes knocking. And that most people like I imagine you like I know you're very successful in your business. Like opportunities everywhere. Like I get it, I drowned in it. The question, like, but if you don't know what opportunity looks like, you're just gonna walk through life and be like, oh, there's nothing works. There's this. It's just like, no, there's literally opportunity everywhere if you know the ingredients of making money.
Yep. Absolutely agree on that. So let's shift a little bit here, and I really want to talk to you about the process of starting, scaling, and eventually selling or exiting a business, right? Because that's kind of like the life cycle of most businesses that are out there, even
Right.
real estate or different industries. So let's walk through that first step, first and foremost, which is starting the business, right? So most people who are watching, listening to this are real estate agents. They're either starting out in the beginning or they're kind of getting established as an individual agent. But what is your philosophy for building the right foundation of creating your own business, of building a business either within real estate industry or in a different industry? I'm sure the same principles will apply.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna share how I got started because I think it's very important to understand the risks involved with starting a business. And so I think the best way to do it is to start selling somebody else's stuff, right? Don't go and create a product because if you cannot sell, you're done. And I had to learn that the hard way. I hated sales. I didn't understand it. Like I said, I was not a social person. I was a finance guy because I didn't have to really talk to a whole lot of people. But then I was like, I remember having the conversation. I was like, a conversation with myself. I was like, I know finance. I know projection models. I'm like really great at this. How come I'm not making the money I don't that I want to make? Like, oh, because I need to sell something. And it was just like, what am I selling? Right now, I'm selling myself. And so what I did is I started selling somebody else's stuff. And I became very good at sales. And obviously, by a product of that, very good at marketing. And so I went to the other end of the spectrum. So I became very good, great at sales. I understood marketing. I became very great at marketing. I became very great at systems, processes, and structure, hiring a virtual assistant. And I always thought with the end in mind. I said, I'm going to be traveling the world. I have to be able to build this online. And so that was, I thought with the end in mind. And then once I started learning sales, then I had to be really good at operations because now I have to onboard these people that I just sold and make sure that they have a great experience. So, so they'll refer other people. And I see a lot of people, they spend so much time and energy on sales and marketing and they really crush it, but they drop it on the back end on fulfillment. And so I spent the first couple of years understanding fulfillment. Mastermind. So we have masterminds 6 days a week. So the people that buy my stuff get access to me because I didn't want anybody to ever say Zach didn't do what he said, right? And so I understood, okay, how do I deliver my promise, whatever your promise is? And so I started learning how to host masterminds and how to create community because now it's not just Zach as the problem solver. We have all of these people that can solve problems. And it was a real estate investing community. And so as that came, it started creating its own environment for me to now I have all of these people that have spent money with me. They trust me because I'm actually doing what I said I'm going to do. I'm delivering on my promise. And guess what? They have other problems that I can now deliver on because I've done the hard part is I've created that relationship. And so I parlay that into a financial services business because it's my belief that if you want to start a business, I built my own model. So I call it FOSSM, finance, operations, sales, and marketing. And what we do is when we're helping people with starting a business or scaling a business is number one is what's the finances? And I came from the world of private equity, uh, big business acquisitions. And these guys, they say a business starts on a spreadsheet, right? What are the numbers? And so we take time and I work with people on their personal finances and their business finances. And I just think I see your life as a business. I don't care what it is. It's income statement, cash flow, and balance sheet for me. I don't care if it's a personal or your business. So I help them understand where they're at financially. And then I help them, okay, what do you want? What's the end goal? Is it traveling the world like me, or is it staying at home with your kids, or is it, being some, multinational corporation? Where are we pointing this out? And then we take the finances and we do financial projection models on it. And say, okay, if I'm making $5,000 a month at my job right now, and I want to quit that or transition, is is should I work on my job? Should I increase my skill set at my jobs? Because I have people that are clients of mine that make $500,000 as a W-2 employee, and they're thinking about quitting. And I go, why? Like, why? Because they were fed this idea that jobs suck, and that's stupid in my opinion. And so I help them find the right track. Is okay, are you really ready for a business? And if they are, what's the metrics? What are you selling? Right? We do this business plan and then we put finances to it. Okay, if you're selling that, how are you going to market it? Right? How many people do you have to talk to a day in order to accomplish your goal of, if we're talking to agents here, of selling 2 houses a month? Because there's math behind all of this. And what I've seen is people don't, at the end of the day, they just don't talk to enough people because if they did, they would hit their metrics. And I've coached thousands of people and almost 99% of people have the same problem is don't talk to enough people, which therefore doesn't give them enough people to do business with. And so then the game is so now that I have my financial projections, I understand where I'm at, understand where I want to go, and I understand the metrics I need to hit each month. How can I do that without spending any money or as little money as possible? So I don't, I see a lot of, and I sort of got stuck into this. I went and I got a bunch of business credit and I spent way too much money on stuff I didn't need. I'm a big proponent of bootstrapping. And so for those of you guys that don't know what that means you sell something, you make money, and then you reinvest what you made. So you don't have to go into debt or you don't have to borrow money. And then it just comes down to doing the work. And then now that we got some money coming in, right? We sold one or two. You don't need a VA to do that. You don't need to spend any money to that. Just go out there, get some money in the bank, and then take a breath. Okay, we got on first. We got on first. We got our first house sold. Fantastic. How did I do that? Like go back and do like an autopsy of it. How did I do that? What were the actions? Okay, I need to do more of that and less of that. And it's coming down to I need to do more sales and more marketing, right? And then, okay, I got some money. I'm going to hire a VA to run all my, my calendars and my appointments so that I can be talking to people. I could be on the phone selling, or I could be on the phone showing homes, or some of these people they partner with other realtors, and so we got buy side agents, we got sell side agents. Pick a lane, but whatever it is that you're doing, that is what you want to be spending your time doing. But as you make money, you're going to spend a little bit of that on removing yourself from all that other nonsense that doesn't lead directly to a paycheck and have somebody else do it. Because there's people that love customer service, right? There's people that love transaction coordinating, right? And if you want to make the money most people want to make, you have to love sales. You have to love people. You have to love solving those problems and let everyone else do what they love. And so and then obviously we have a whole plan around that depending on how far and how fast you want to go.
Yeah, so a lot to unpack there for sure. I mean, just first and foremost, what you mentioned all the way early back when you started explaining the starting the business, right? Selling other people's products. I think for real estate agents, that is exactly what they're doing, right? They're selling
Yeah,
us, right? They're not selling their own house, right? They're selling things that are in existence. That is very important, right? A lot of people think starting a business means starting a store, creating some type of invention, right? Which is, not
I've
the
been
case at
there.
all.
I've been there. And it's like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
a
So
lot of
that's
time and money.
Yeah, and that's, usually reserved for other types of businesses out there, right? So you don't have to do that. You just have to do exactly what you said, which is no sales, no marketing. How do we bring people in the door so that you can actually be that connector, right? And sell the product or service that somebody else is offering in the first place. So that is super important. I think, the other thing you mentioned was the metrics part, which is breaking it down into something predictable, right? How many people did you talk to, right? How many conversations were started? How many people did you get to that next step of the sale and the next step of the
Right.
sale? And then what led to the actual conversion, right? So that gives you an idea of if you want more sales, more conversion, what you need to do. And then going all the way back into the finance part, right? Going all the way back into what we talked about in the beginning, which is then working backwards from what do you actually want? How much does it actually cost? How many people do you need to close? How many people do you need to talk to? Right. And then that gives you a very structured idea of exactly what needs to happen. So it makes it so much easier to scale, but not just scale, but scale effectively and efficiently to actually get to
Right.
where you want to go.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cause it's like you're walking a path that you've already laid out in your mind. You've already laid it out on paper as opposed to waking up and just sort of walking blind every day.
Yeah. And you don't get anywhere if you don't know where you're going. And
Right.
that's a big idea. I think people need to understand. But let's move now to scaling, right? Scaling operations. What are your tips now for where you need to be going, how many sales you need to be converting, how many people you need to talk to. Well, there's only so much time, that we have during our day to do the things that we can do, right? So how do we scale up? You mentioned a little bit about hiring VAs. What does that process look like on a kind of a back end structure point of view?
Yeah. So being a finance guy, I believe the financial statements will tell you how far or how fast you can scale.
Yeah.
And most people don't have, I mean, we run a financial service business. We do books, we do taxes, we do fractional CFO, we do that whole world of it, full scope business development. And I would say 99% of people don't know where they're at financially. Even people, I got people making 5, 10, $20 million a year and they don't know where they're at financially in their businesses. Because they're accountants. The accounting industry is tough right now to find great accountants and bookkeepers and financial professionals. And so I would say start with great financials. because that is the ultimate dashboard, the ultimate KPI, the ultimate, and then have plenty of cash reserves. I tell my all of my clients is they have 12 months of cash reserves because there's going to be times where you're not going to make any money. And so managing your finances is step one because that's going to make sure you're not stressing out at night. You don't have to go and sell a property to pay your bills. And so then after that is you want to be able to leverage. We hear this word leverage and we hear this word systems and processes and structures. And I've heard that so much. I've bought so many courses and gone to so many programs, but it's very hard to understand what does that mean. And so it's like you have to be able to get your wisdom and your knowledge outside of yourself and have somebody else do it. Now, the better you are at communicating your ideas effectively, the cheaper that help is going to be. For example, all of my staff are offshore. I have people in South America, I have people in the Philippines. Everyone's offshore because it's way cheaper. Now, in order to have that, I have to have bulletproof systems and processes and structures and so everyone knows exactly what they're supposed to do, exactly where, and exactly how. And it literally starts off with getting a pen and paper down. And there's this great example. It was on I think a TEDx talk. It was like, how do you make toast? And it's like imagine you had to tell somebody else how to make toast. Sounds like a very simple process, but if they've never made toast, they don't know what toast is. They don't know what butter is. They don't know what a toaster is. They don't know. And our challenge is as people that are operators in a business is we just know, like, well, because we've done it. And so you have to remember the person coming in doesn't know. And, so what I like to start off with is I tell people, I say, just track your time. Where is it that you spend the majority of your time? And it's going to be little stuff like emails and follow up. Like, great, that's the easiest thing to hand off. And then you actually create an SOP. And so we're a big fan of project management software. We use ClickUp, very robust, and it's also very, it's free. They have a free version of it. And then we just start putting our tasks in there. Okay, check email every day, right? Remind it, repeat, boom. Okay, I'm going to assign that to myself. And so when you're the solopreneur type person, start that now, right? And then run your system run your life like a project. And then you're going to start documenting it and document it. Then you just put someone else in for $8 to $10 an hour. And they now manage that so that you can go focus on the next system or process thing to organize. And you just keep doing that and doing that and doing that. And there's some great references out there. The book Traction, Entrepreneur Operating System, that's what we use inside of all of our portfolio businesses. And so all of our portfolio businesses use the same structure. We use EOS for the operating component of it. We use Go High Level for the CRM. We use ClickUp for the project management tool. We use Slack for communication. And then obviously we have, QuickBooks for accounting firm and tax strategy. But it's like that way across all of my businesses, I don't have to teach a new software to somebody because we use the same software. And then in the book Traction, they talk about integrator versus visionary. And when you're first starting off, I mean, you're going to be a little bit of both. And the key is understanding what your strengths are. I'm a visionary and I hired an integrator. And they say it's like rocket fuel. It is because you paint the picture. I'm out there in front of the camera. I'm selling the vision. And then they go, I got this, Zach. Just get on my way. And then they build the puzzle. And so it really takes a team of really great people. And in the world of startup, you need people, the right people. And the right people are people with agency. And what do I mean by that? People that can figure out a problem and don't need to come to you. Because I've hired the wrong people. I've hired people that are great people, but they're more suited for a stable business condition, right? Where it's the same thing every day. And in the world of startups, fast-paced stuff like this, I mean, it changes by the end of the day. And so the people I hire now, and I really look for this, that thrive in the chaos of startup, that thrive in the chaos of, entrepreneurism, because it is fun, because they own the problem, they own the position, and I don't have time to deal with everything. And I say, hey, we got to be at the end zone by 10 o'clock tomorrow, and I'll see you there. Good day, right? And they go, got it. And then we meet up and we're at the end zone because they have the capacity to figure things out. Now it's up to your job as the guy that, or the guy or gal is running the show, to make sure they know what the end zone is. And that's one thing I've really been working on, is making sure that all of my staff across all the world, uh, we're all going to the same place. And that means I'm constantly setting the vision. I'm constantly sharing updates. I'm constantly saying, hey, we no longer do that. We do this. And that lies in values and principles. And so we have five values and five core principles that we use. Have intention, personal responsibility, integrity, dream big, and do the work. And all of those will figure out, will solve any problem you have. Because if you take if you have intention and take personal responsibility, figure it out. That's sort of go use Google, be resourceful. And that's the type of people you need on your team when you're really starting this off.
Yeah, finding people not just to kind of fill a position, right? Find people that can figure things out on their own. That is so important because now you don't have to, your job doesn't go from, being the integrator to being the manager, right? You have to manage people
Right.
all the time, solve problems for them. It's basically just the body, right? You're still doing things,
Right.
still taking time away from doing any other thing that you could be doing. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, but cool, man. So I think, at this point, we want to wrap up the show a little bit here with the last part of this, which is, how do we get to where you're at, right? How do we've started, we've scaled, right? But how do we get to a point where we can step back, we can start enjoying the fruits of our labor, we can start actually, taking time into living out those dreams, those goals that we started out with in the beginning of the show, that we know what we want. Now that we're here, how do we maintain the business so that way there's still money coming in, but now we don't have to necessarily run the business or even manage or work on it all the time.
I would say it starts off with having proper expectations, because even though I may be traveling or even though I may be on a motorcycle, my mind, I am my business, right? And so I'm always in it. I don't care where I'm at. I may be getting a massage. I'm thinking about, the next problem or the next solution or whatever. And so having this expectation, the proper expectation, like sitting on a beach, not collecting a paycheck, it, the proverbial aspect doesn't exist, because your mind is still solving problems. I'm solving the problems from a beach right now. And then here's the thing that I think the secret to a lot of my success is I take all of my employees, people that work for me, and I ask them what they want. I'm like, Kobe, what do you want out of life? And we really take this serious. And they're like, well, I want to travel and I want this and I want that. I want to be able to take care of my mom and I want whatever it is. And I say, that is fantastic, Kobe. I can help you get that if you help me get this. And so now they're not showing up to my job. They're showing up to their business. They just so happen to be a subcontractor for me. And so I tie that and then I lay it out. I say, okay, you want to hit this income goal? Here's what you have to do. I don't care. They could say they want double their salary. I don't care, because I'll find a way for them to get it if they're willing to do what it takes. And so I'm a big advocate of paying people more than a lot of everyone I use is overseas. And so I can pay them a lot more money than other people are willing to pay them. And it's still dramatically less. And then what I do is everybody on my team is a salesperson. Everybody gets a commission if they earn the commission. And so, and then I tie their future of traveling the world, helping their mom, whatever it is, to my business. And then I just get out of their way, right? And because now they're not working for me anymore. I've changed the dynamic. They're working for their own goals. They're working for their own vision. And then all I have to do is keep the proverbial bus on the road. And I'm like, okay, hey, go a little left. And so I spend a lot of my time coaching my team. And that's why it's so important to build the right infrastructure. So to have the finances, so you know what is going good, to have the dashboards and the KPIs to know if they're off track, to have those I call them feedback loops to then coach the team. And so I went out this morning and we went and looked at a mansion up in northern Medellin. We're going to have a resort. Guess what? I brought my head of operations, my COO with me. We talked the whole time and we're planning, we're strategizing. Now she got to go on a fun field trip. We had breakfast together and now she knows what the mission is, right? She knows where it is and where to keep it on track. And I'm going to go after this. I'm going to go have a massage and go create a bunch of master classes for my school community so I can give away. And that's what I love doing, right? But I'm still working. It's just a different type of work.
Yeah. So that's absolutely very important for people to have the right expectations, right? You can't, I don't think it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Because it's you guys. I mean, you're obviously having a ton of fun doing what you're doing, and people they're not having a lot of fun. They probably shouldn't be in that business in the first place, right? I mean, I think that has to play into the decision of what business you're in and what you're doing, and if you want to continue doing it. But I love what you mentioned about tying your team's goals to your business, right? Having them own their jobs, having them own
Right.
their own goals, right? You can motivate people, you can have accountability for people, you can do all of that, like all the way until the day that you die, but it never becomes real for the other person in your organization unless they actually own their own goals, unless they
Right.
own the mission, right? They own what they want to do, and that becomes theirs. And as people, I think we're so wired that what we come up with in our own minds is so much more important than what somebody tells us that we need to
Yeah.
place importance on.
Because they're working for their family now. They're working to make sure their mom has a great place. They're working for that concert tickets of their favorite artist, whatever it is. And then the other component I really want to add is invest in your team. I asked my team, I said, what do you want to get trained and developed in? And then I'll go buy them a course. I don't care. I want them like, I've spent a lot of money on courses for my team because I don't want to, I don't have time to train everybody. And so it's like, hey, go watch the course, go get some coaching from them. You know what the mission is, be creative. Like, we're here to help people. We're here to do this. We're here to do that. Figure it out, have some fun with it. And the people I hire, they love it because it's like they get to show up, they get to be who they are, they get to do what they want, and they're advancing. And that's another big thing I've learned over the years is I'm the happiest when I'm evolving. I think the human spirit was made to evolve. And so when people get stagnant, they get depressed. I know for me, I do. I had everything I wanted. I was sitting on a beach in Dominican Republic, that proverbial beach. I was like, this is it. This sucks. And I called my coach and she's like, well, you quit creating. You got to what you want. And then she goes, what's next? And so with my team, I'm always asking, okay, what's next? What's the next course? And I also pay this is a big thing. I pay my coach who focuses on emotional intelligence. I pay her to come in and coach everybody on my team and my clients. If you're a high paying client, a certain aspect with us, I pay for it because 80 to 90%, and there's studies on this, 80 to 90% of your success in life is based on emotional intelligence. And people aren't going to spend their money on it. I'll spend my money on them if they're working for me because it helps me. And then what it also allows me to do is have really difficult conversations with everybody that I need to have because they're adults. I'm an adult and we've been trained in this environment called coaching. I've created all my businesses around this coaching aspect. And so they know how to take the coaching. I know how to give the coaching and it's not weird. It's not like bad. It's like, hey, you want to be a high performer. This is what it takes to be a high performer. I want you to have everything you want. And that means you need to kick it up a notch. And they're like, oh my God, thank you, Zach, so much for caring about me. Not F you because you didn't hit your KPIs or something. But it's all context.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I mean, you shared so much value with us here today. I think, we could probably bring you back on for, another 40-minute episode
I
on
would
just.
love it, man. I just love talking with great people, and you're great, Kobe.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. But I mean, I think we definitely can learn a lot from what you've gone through and where you are at today and where you're going as well and what you're currently doing. So, for anybody out there who wants to learn more about what you're doing, who want to be part of your community and your master classes that want to connect with you, follow your journey, what are some of the best ways for people to actually connect with you and stay in your community or be a part of your community?
Yeah, the best way is just be to go to my website, learnandgrowrich.net. And that gets you into my free school community. My idea is to give away everything I know, right? And so right after this, I'm building my finance course. We just did a wholesale one. I did one on vision setting. And we're going to build out everything from starting, scaling, selling businesses. Everything I know is going to be there. It's going to be absolutely free. So people can learn how to put this puzzle together called life.
That is awesome. Make sure to check that out, and we will leave the link to that in the description and the show notes down below. So that way it's easy for people to find. But Zach, man, appreciate you again for being on the show. Before we let you go here, was there anything else, any last pieces of advice, any last tips you want to leave with us here today?
Oh my God, I could go forever. Here's I think the best two words of advice or piece of advice. You only need two things in life: intention and personal responsibility. You're at where you're at in your life because of who you are and what you have or have not done. And as soon as you realize that, it's so powerful. I remember the day I had a coach and he just reamed me with it. And I was so confronted because I wanted to blame everyone else for my life. And I started living life with intention and taking personal responsibility for everything. Even if it wasn't quote unquote my fault, I said, well, it's my fault now. I'm going to own this. And it gives you power because if you're in the driver's seat, it gives you power. And so intention and personal responsibility can get anything you want in life.
That is awesome, man. That's some great advice, and it was a great episode. So appreciate you again for being on the show. Appreciate you for tuning in, and we will see you on the next show. Take
Thanks, Kobe.
care.
Thanks, everybody.